nScreenNoise, and I'm speaking with Jason Flick, who is CEO and co-founder of You.i this week. And Jason, you have some very exciting news, which we're going to get to in just a little bit. But before we do that, I think I'd like you to just introduce who You.i is for those people who don't know you.
Great. Yeah, I'm Jason Flick, CEO, co-founder of You.i TV, and we've built a platform for building video apps, and we've taken a very different approach, almost a video game-like approach, where you build this app once and it runs identically everywhere. So really solves this challenge of what all these media companies need to do, which is all the glass surfaces everywhere. So that's really what we're helping them do.
So you have a pretty unique approach to the platform, the platform that actually runs on. That's very different to the way most of the other providers in this space work. Can you talk a little bit about that and why it's such a great way to go about doing this?
Yeah, for sure. So we started off, my co-founder and I, both geeks, both loved video games. We saw the iPhone, and we figured out really what's going on there, which is this is a platform that talks directly to the hardware. And we said, where else has this problem been solved where people want to build these great experiences? And we took a lot of the leads from the video game world. Now, we built this from the ground up, from the GPU all the way back with our own code, but really the ideas of the principles were similar to video games. So Angry Birds, Candy Crush, Words with Friends, if you play them, they're identical everywhere. But then why are your video apps on Xbox? It's always the side scroller. On Roku, it's a gray box, then it kind of blinks. On iPhone, it's sometimes this really cool stuff. Android, not so much. Why is that? And so we said, build an app with our framework that we built up, and you can bring your brand to life everywhere.
So, and this framework is written in C++, which is pretty unusual, right? Because most of the other platforms are written in a much higher language. What's the advantage of doing that?
Yeah, so there's really only one programming language that will compile everywhere, right? And that is C++. HTML5 gets close, but it's the lowest end of user experience. It's very CPU and memory intensive. And then everything else only runs on certain platforms. So this is the core of our engine had to be written in C++. And the other piece that I didn't talk about, but the entire layout and most of the heavy lifting is done in the Adobe Tool Suite. So really you're just wiring up business logic in C++, but all those magical moments, and happy to kind of show some demos or help people take a look at them, but all those little things that the designers love, they all come for free out of that workflow that we have. So yes, it's C++, but all that heavy lifting gets done outside the product.
So does that mean it's very much a drag and drop, WYSIWYG type approach to building that interface?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very different approach. Actually, we've patented how we do this, but what if you would have gone out and gotten a really good design done from a really good company? They would have used Photoshop and After Effects, sent you the files and said, document these, right? And then when they start documenting, there's tons of compromise. Then when they start implementing, there's tons of compromise. We actually have plugins that go directly into those tools, and it pulls the data right out. So you get that design piece. So it goes back to the original designs, and that's what you get. So kind of drag and drop, but just a whole different way of approaching the problem. We skipped all that documentation and compromise phase.
So it's very easy to put the same experience on multiple platforms, right? How do I do that?
Yeah, so there's things to consider. So we give you one code base that runs everywhere, but there's still three form factors you need to consider. You need your phone, you need your tablet, and you need your 10-foot experience. And the 10-foot's often a D-pad, and then it's touch for the other two. So we support those different configurations, and you can choose to try and design it one for all if you want, or you can embrace the fact that the phone is held this way and tablet can be richer, and then the D-pad. So you have that choice, but 90-some% of that code, even if you change a lot of the interactions, is still the same. You're not finding bugs in the communications and backends on all these different platforms. And we're on a dozen platforms now. So if you think about all those that dozen code base, and if you're a big company like a Turner or a Disney, you have dozens of brands with dozens of platforms, and very painful.
So now I don't need to worry about selecting which platforms I do first or which I do second. I can pretty much hit the major ones right off the bat, right?
Right. It's a business question now. So do you want to go 10-foot, or do you want to stick with the traditional way you're monetizing it? But we now open that up. You can launch on all platforms. Filmstruck's a great example of that.
Very good. So now, you mentioned Filmstruck. That's a super app. I was playing with it on the weekend. So that's obviously from Turner. And you've got some pretty exciting news about Turner and using You.i, right?
Yeah, it was great. There's been a couple of blog posts from their CTO office about why they've chosen to embrace and standardize on our technology, how they're using it, how it's changing the process of what they do, and really enabling their business. So that's been a great relationship. And then Filmstruck was their first direct to consumer, so we were very proud to be part of that. And I think, you were mentioning before the call, I mean, it's engaging and it really brings you into that rich content.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I was very impressed with it, that it really does feel very much like it belongs with the content that it is providing. How did you get that? Did they come to you with a design already, or did you work together on that?
Yeah, it was actually a really fun project. I mean, we're large enough now. I don't get involved in every little project, but I certainly heard lots of great stuff. It was almost a startup inside Turner. They were super excited to get this out there and use that Criterion Collection and the Turner Classic Movies, merge them together, and really bring that feeling of discovery in there. And you'll see as you kind of go through it, you can see all the additional content. And even for me, watching that stuff and then watching the movie, even if I've seen it before, it's a completely new experience knowing this was the movie that started that whole trend of this, or look at how they did this and how hard that piece was.
Yeah.
So you really get an appreciation for it, and they've melted that content right into the user interface.
Indeed, and as you said, I was browsing it this weekend and was just very impressed both with the collection of movies that are available through it, and just how easy it is to browse through, because they didn't just have a bunch of titles; they actually have created collections, which you dive into. So sort of two or three levels. Is that very easy to put together with your tool set?
Yeah, so I mean, the back end piece and the front end have to work in harmony for some of that, because they're definitely curating content, they're choosing what's highlighted. So we work really closely to make sure that the back end piece allows them to do it, and then bringing that piece to life. I mean, adding new content, all those things, very easy. The whole thing is driven by an integration with their CMS and our product line. And the nice thing is, as they evolve that stuff, which always happens, right? You want to change how you're doing your player, or change your DRM, or change your backend system even. It's very easy because you get that one place to go back and maintain all those changes.
Very good. And you also have a new announcement, which basically brings the abilities that you've given to Turner to everybody, and you can deliver in record time, right? So tell us about this new announcement.
Yeah, so we created a term that's become quite popular in the last year or so, called an origin app. And so all of our customers build their origin app, pre-bakes all their stuff into it, and then they can build all their apps on top of that. What we've done now is built what we don't call it the origin app, we call it You.i Engine One, and it can get you to market in 60 days, and it's all the pieces you need. So it's not just a player component and a PDP component and a button component, it's all of them stuck together, pre-integrated with some back-end systems, and you can get to market very quickly. But unlike the other systems where they call it a template and it's really different code bases everywhere, maybe change the logo, change the background color, you can move menu systems, you can change how they interact, you can change how the content flows. Because of that designer workflow piece that we have, it's very easy to make significant levels of changes. As long as the same content is there and it moves to the same content, almost everything is up for adjustment without having to code.
And just how quickly could I get my apps out on the different devices?
So we went from months to like 60 days now that you can get an app in market, because of all that heavy lifting is already done for you, and on all the platforms that we support as well.
So that's available, I guess, now, right?
Yeah, that's our big announcement. And CES is our big show, so we'll be making a lot of noise about that at CES, but that's out there now. Love to talk to anyone who's listening who's interested in it.
So they can come by and talk to you at CES in Las Vegas, which will be fun. Well, hopefully you'll have lots of new apps to talk to us about in the coming year.
Yes, we have a couple of, we have a bunch of big things, and yeah, love to have people come by at CES. It's the one time where we set up all of our dozen platforms to one screen, play with all the apps, see how they're identical everywhere. It's actually a lot of fun. Hope to get you there as well, Colin.
Yeah, and I recommend everybody go out and check out that Filmstruck user interface, because it really is a great experience. Jason, great talking with you, and we'll speak with you again soon.
Thank you, pleasure.